Powerful Tips for Effective Interviewing, Part 3 of a 5-part video series produced by the Career Center. This video will discuss behavioral questions and how to best answer them. So let's begin by looking at trends in global interviewing. 3/4 of hiring managers find behavioral interviews are an effective technique to evaluate a candidate's future performance. Behavioral interviewing involves asking questions about the applicant's behavior in past situations that are often very similar to the ones required in the role that you're applying for. Hiring managers will use your answers to behavioral questions and assess your knowledge and skill sets and other important competencies that are relevant to the job. It is therefore very important to prepare and outline how you will answer these types of questions before your interview. Behavioral interview questions. A behavioral question, as we stated earlier, is a critical way that employers use to assess how you will fit within their organization. And the hint is when an employer begins a question with, tell me about a time when. It can be, tell me about a time when you demonstrated leadership skills, or tell me about a time when you had to collaborate with another team or organization. And there's a 3-prong approach called STAR or SAR that will enable you to effectively answer this type of interview question. The S stands for this situation. So in the example of tell me about a time when you demonstrated leadership skills, state the situation. Were you a co-chair in a student-led organization? And what was your task? One situation, defined, concisely but detailed, will enable you to answer the question appropriately. A, what actions did you take? Again, 1, 2, or up to 3 different actions that you specifically took as a leader or a co-chair person in this organization is what you want to state as part of the answer. And to conclude your response, R, which stands for result. What was the result or impact? So in this example about tell me about a time when you demonstrated leadership skills and you were co-chair of an organization and your task was to fundraise, you specify what 1, 2, or maximum 3 actions that you took. The result could be 1 or 2 results works. Ideally, one with a metric could be that you exceeded fundraising goals by 20% and that your organization was your organizational event was well attended. That would be 2 results, 1 with the metric. Common types of behavioral questions and what employers are really trying to assess are the skill sets and specific examples of those skill sets. So leadership, interpersonal skills, questions like tell me a time when you had to deal with a very difficult team member and how did you go about it? Again, you start with that STAR methodology. Explain the situation and or task, the action steps you took, and what that outcome or final result were. Communication skills. Tell me a time when you had to communicate to a large audience, to an audience of a certain demographic, or when you had to communicate a complex topic to a student group. Taking initiative. Again, what the employer is looking for is a specific example, either in an academic class, a project you did in a class, or in a prior organization and or an internship. Demonstrating creativity is another example. Dealing with failure. A behavioral question that deals with failure. You want to ensure that when you respond to that question, that you not just state the failure and what action steps you took, but the most important is what you learned from that failure and how you went ahead and utilized it as a learning experience when you attempted a different task. So it's important when you do deal with failures, not only to explain that particular instance, but to utilize what was learned from that and how it helped you with a different task or situation. And the last is organization and decision-making skills. Oftentimes, when an employer asks you about when and how you make decisions, they are looking for the criteria that you created and the processing that you went ahead and utilized to make specific decisions. Again, all of these behavioral questions you can use and answer using the SAR or STAR methodology. This concludes the third of a 5 series of videos on powerful tips for effective interviewing.